Dad, you promised you'd get me a pocket watch. I kept my promise, son. Here it is. I took the pocket watch and ran to my room, only to take it apart. Sounds crazy, right? Well, I was a little crazy, but most people called me a mechanical genius. Hi, I'm Henry Ford, one of the coolest minds in the history of mankind. I literally changed the way people traveled, not just in the US, but the entire world. I was born into a family of farmers who lived near Detroit, and ever since I could remember, I was fascinated with tools and machines. Henry, tell me more about American history. History is bunk, but I could tell you how to make a screwdriver from old nails. My answers usually didn't impress teachers, and literature and history bored me to death, so I dropped out of school after grade 8. I started spending most of my free time in a small machine shop I created in my backyard. One day, my friends and I were out playing when I noticed a strange carriage on the road. It wasn't even pulled by horses. Whoa, who's pulling that wagon? Is it under a spell? It's a steam wagon. I saw a few of them in Detroit last summer. I was so fascinated by the vehicle that I followed it for half a mile. When the driver finally stopped, I bombarded him with a million questions on how it ran. The next few months, I worked hard trying to replicate the vehicle I'd seen, and by the time I turned 15, I'd already constructed my first steam engine. But when I showed it to Mom, she started crying.
Oh, Henry, you spent all this time trying to create a pressure cooker?
It's not a pressure cooker, Mom. It's a steam engine. I showed her how it worked, and she looked mesmerized.
I always knew you were a genius. I'm sure you're gonna be a big man someday.
But Mom didn't live long enough to see me be one. A few months later, Mom got seriously sick giving birth to my youngest brother. We couldn't even rush her to the doctor because cars were super expensive and rare in those times. The day Mom passed away, I vowed to create an affordable car for the average American. But to do that, I had to move to the city. Dad, however, had other plans for me. I'm getting old, Henry. You need to take over the farm. But Dad, you know how my heart is in mechanics. I begged Dad to allow me to go to Detroit, and he finally agreed. The next day, I walked almost 8 miles to reach my destination. In the city, I worked at several machine shops to gain experience. But I'd visit the farm often, and on one such visit, I attended a New Year's ball where I came across the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She introduced herself as Clara, and we got talking. So, what do you do? You could call me the machine doctor. What about you? Before she could reply, her friends led her away, and suddenly she was gone. I attended random balls for a year before I finally met her again. And this time, I wasn't gonna let her go. We got married after a brief engagement, and it was the beginning of the best period of my life. Soon, I got selected as the chief engineer at the Edison Illuminating Company and started earning enough to focus on my experiments. Once, the great Thomas Edison walked in while I was working on my first car model. What in the physics class is going on here? Sir, I'm trying to make a horseless car fully powered by gas. Sir Edison was super impressed with my model and encouraged me to focus on bettering it. So I quit my job and founded a car company with some investors. However, it soon went bankrupt because the cars produced were expensive but of poor quality. I worked hard for years, founded another company, and finally came up with a car that would turn out to be a spectacular success. Model T. This car shook the automobile market. It was cheap, reliable, and efficient. More than 15 million Model T cars were sold in the US alone. I was labeled a genius and was counted among the richest men in the world. Today, Ford continues to be one of the world's top automobile manufacturers. And in 1999, Fortune magazine named me the businessman of the century. So friends, there are no secrets to success. Success is the result of consistent hard work and learning from failure. The world that we live in can be very unfair. When we see bad stuff happening around us, we can either choose to conveniently ignore it or be brave enough to stand up for what's right. I chose the latter. Hi, I'm Nelson Mandela, the first black president of South Africa. I was born in 1918 to the royal family of the Tembu tribe in South Africa. My dad was the chief of the tribe, and I was named Holihlahla by my parents, which meant naughty. And I was a naughty child indeed. I'd play stick fighting with my friends for hours, and we'd slide down huge rocks near our village until our butts got really sore. And we learned to ride by sitting on top of calves and donkeys. One day, my friends and I were trying to ride a horse, and when my turn came, the animal got angry and threw me into the bushes. Look at him! What a loser! Your dad must be so proud of you right now. At least I tried. That's what's important. That day, I learned a valuable lesson. Never to humiliate anyone, because it makes them feel terrible, just as I felt that day. So even as a kid, I defeated my opponents without humiliating imitating them. When I was 5, Mom enrolled me into a local school, and I became the first person from my family to receive formal education. One of my teachers named me Nelson, meaning champion, and the name stuck. Growing up, I came across very few white men. Our district officer was white, and we looked at him with awe and respect. But when I moved to Johannesburg to study law, I noticed the vast difference in the way whites and blacks were treated in my country. This one time, I saw a woman standing next to her broken car, and I offered to help. Reluctantly, she agreed, and I fixed her car. Here, take this. No, thank you. I'm good. But you're black. Why did you fix my car if you didn't want the money? Because you're a woman, and you were stranded on a deserted road. After that incident, I kept witnessing day after day how poorly my people were being treated in their own country. Hey, you! Get up! Can't you see this seat is reserved for white men? But I have a ticket too. Then go sit on the floor. Soon, I learned this injustice wasn't limited to train rides. It was everywhere. The white people enjoyed better living facilities, schools, had high-paying jobs, while the blacks struggled with poverty and were discriminated against all the time. This toilet is reserved for the white. This is a white-only restaurant. Even when a white and black person did the same job, the latter was paid considerably less. And the worst part, we weren't even allowed to vote. This senseless discrimination called apartheid made my blood boil. And to end it, I joined the African National Congress. Our group strived to achieve equal rights for everyone, and our protests were mostly nonviolent. Soon, many people started supporting our movement, and the ruling authorities felt threatened. So, I was arrested along with my friends and sentenced to life imprisonment. I spent the next 28 years in jail, but I kept fighting my battle from the prison too, even when they put me in the most secluded one. Mr. Mandela, it is said you've been sending letters outside. Is it true? You can put me in the remotest part of the country, and I'll still find a way to pass my message outside. The authorities offered to set me free twice, but I wasn't willing to compromise on my principles. Finally, when the political and public pressure became too much, I was released in 1990. And 3 years later, Native Africans got the right to vote, and apartheid was almost completely abolished. The next year, I became South Africa's first black president. It is time to heal our wounds. It is time for peace and justice. And above all, it is time for a new South Africa, where there will be work, bread, water, and salt for all. Even after I was no longer the president, I continued to work for equality and peace, for which I got the Nobel Peace Prize. Today, I'm remembered as a hero who transformed his nation and kept fighting for what is right.
Hi, I'm Brittany from Philadelphia. Please like and subscribe. I was raised by my single German mom who moved to the US before she had me, and she wasn't a very conventional mom. For starters, I was allowed to call her by her name, Julia, and other people just didn't get that.
Carol, excuse me, can I please go to the bathroom?
It's Miss Carol, honey. You don't call adults by their first names, like you say mom. You don't use her name.
Yeah, I do. I call her Julia all the time. What's wrong with that, Carol?
She thought I was being cheeky and got mad, and I really didn't understand why. But after that, I started using Miss, Mr., or Mrs. with names of everything in her class, just to be on the safe side. Mr. Apple, Miss Banana, Mrs. Pencil, and for some reason, that annoyed her too. Mom always treated me more like her BFF than her daughter, and we could have candid conversations about anything.
How many boyfriends have you had, Julia?
5.
Can I have a boyfriend?
Sure, but I warn you, boys are annoying.
Was my dad annoying?
He was the worst. Lazy, stupid jerk. He always stole my chocolates.
I'm glad he's not around. Okay, is Santa Claus real?
Ugh, of course not. I buy your amazing presents, not some fat old men.
I thought so, Julia.
Life was pretty good, till a woman moved next to us in the 3rd grade. She had a son who seemed to be my age, and Mom and I were excited to welcome them to the neighborhood, but the lady didn't seem too happy to see us. What is it? You woke me up from my nap. Oh, we just brought you a butter pecan pie. A what now?
A butter pecan pie.
That's just her German accent. Sounds really weird. I'll return the dish once we've eaten it. Okay, danke. What did you say? I said okay, danke. Who are you calling a donkey, you weirdo? And then she smashed the pie in Mom's face. Mom lost it and attacked her, and several neighbors had to stop them from ripping each other's hair out. I tried telling the lady and her son that danke means thank you in German, but they just wouldn't listen. And that was the day an endless war started between the two houses. Alan's mom worked the night shift and slept during the day, so Mom made sure she did everything noisy during that time, like mowing the lawn, hammering nails in the wall for hanging pictures, and playing the drums. Yeah, she bought a drum set just for that purpose. And in turn, we'd often find our washed laundry in the mud, dog poop on our doorstep, our newspaper crosswords always done, and trash outside our gate. Hey, you pick this up before I come and kick your bottom. You should go back inside. There's already enough garbage on the street. Our moms also kept calling the cops on each other. They were playing their music too loud. We were not. They're keeping an illegal animal in that house. We just own a cat, you moron. But you've been keeping lice in your hair and spreading it in the neighborhood. Officer, arrest her. We shared a wall, and one time, Mom was playing music and Alan's mom started banging on the wall. Mom got pissed and banged even harder. Then Alan's mom punched a hole through the living room wall with a broom. You stupid cow. You've ruined my wall. It's not your wall, it's mine. Alan and his mom tossed a bunch of trash through the hole, and of course, we returned the favor. And for me and Alan, our feud didn't even stay at home. We made each other miserable in school with stupid pranks. One day, I discovered slime in my locker, and just then, I heard Alan talking trash about me to his friends in the hallway. I'd had enough, so I threw toilet water on him.
Wow, you smell terrible.
I'll get you for that, Brittany.
Ooh, I'm scared. You gonna get your mom to punish me, you mama's boy?
I can take care of myself, you ugly monkey. There was never a moment of peace between us. And then in 9th grade, our moms both came to school for the school play and started fighting over a seat. Hey, that's mine. It doesn't have your name on it. If it did, how would you know? It's not like you can read English. They started shoving and scratching each other. A couple of teachers had to drag them out of the auditorium as Alan and I looked on in horror. It seemed like everyone was talking about us. I don't think I've ever felt so embarrassed in my entire life. Seriously, I wish the ground would swallow me whole. Wow, look at us. We actually agree on something. And honestly, I was getting a little sick of it all. We had done about as many nasty things as we could to each other, and I was beginning to wonder what the point of it was. Julia, why don't we just move and put all this behind us? No. That's exactly what that woman wants, and I won't let her have it. But there were more and more days where I saw Alan, and it wasn't my first instinct to glare at him or call him stupid or throw my drink in his face. And I started noticing a similar change in Alan. I think the two of us had reached the same conclusion. We had outgrown this feud. We weren't friends, like not at all, but we weren't really enemies anymore either, which somehow led us to being partnered for a class project. Oh, great. Stuck with you. Are you gonna set my notebook on fire or stab me with a pencil? Look who's talking. You threw rotten eggs through my bedroom window and put a dead fish in my mailbox. I'm not exactly thrilled about this either. Whatever, let's just get it over with. We knew there would be a huge fight if either of us told our mothers we were working together, so we kept it a secret and met up in parks and cafes. I didn't expect to enjoy myself, but weirdly, I did. One day, I caught him staring at me. What are you looking at? I always thought your face looked like a rotten tomato, but when you smile, you're kinda cute. Oh yeah? Your face looks like a raisin. Raisins are sweet, and they're good for you. The next day, Alan gave me a basket of golden raisins with a silly note that made me smile. Alan was actually really funny. He made me laugh more than anyone else, and I could almost forget all the things he'd done to make me angry over the years. Brittany, I know our moms hate each other, but I was thinking. You mean you finally got that brain of yours to work? Haha, very funny. Truth is, I don't hate you. I'm not sure if I ever really did. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Even after the project was done, we kept sneaking around and hanging out as much as we could, watching movies and taking long walks, and the more time I spent around him, the more I started realizing that I liked him. Alan, I think You've fallen head over heels for me, you've been struck by Cupid's arrow, you can't get enough of me, and you think about me all the time. I wouldn't say all that. Okay, fine. If you were gonna say that you liked me, then you should know that I like you too. So, what should we do about it? I have some ideas. Then Alan pulled me close and kissed me. Our moms were still getting into fights, but that didn't mean we had to be a part of it. When we were in school, we could totally pretend none of that drama was real. And afterwards, we would hang out in places where our moms weren't likely to find us. Sometimes, we'd even use the hole connecting our houses to talk after our moms had gone to sleep. Things seemed to finally be going well, mostly. When should we tell our moms? Don't you think it's too soon? Considering that they hate each other, it seems like any time would be bad. Besides, aren't you sick of sneaking around behind their backs? I'm not really used to keeping secrets from my mom. I guess you're right. Why don't you come over for this big family dinner Mom's hosting tomorrow, and I can introduce you as my girlfriend then. She won't make a scene in front of so many people, trust me. That night, I showed up at the party all decked out, and Alan greeted me at the door. Wow, you look amazing. You look good too, aside from the sweat on your forehead. I'm just a little nervous. I'll be fine. The house was filled with guests, and they were really nice to me. A few minutes later, we all went to the dining room, and that's when Alan's mom walked in with the roast chicken and saw me. What is that awful girl doing here, Alan? Alan was about to speak, but then suddenly he pushed me away instead. I have no idea, Mom. She must have snuck in. She has a crush on me, and she's just obsessed, like a psycho stalker. I was so shocked and hurt. I couldn't even move or speak. You horrible child. Get off my property at once or I'll call the police. Alan's mom picked up a bowl full of spaghetti and hurled it at me. I ducked just in time and went running out the door in tears. And when my mom found me sobbing on my bed later, I told her what had happened. She was beyond furious. I'm not going to let them both get away with this. Julia, can't we please just move away? I'm so sick of all this fighting. No, we are staying right here, and we are planning revenge. She came up with all these crazy ideas for how I could embarrass him at school or out in public, and some of them involved his mom. I was getting so frustrated that my brain was about to explode. Just stop! What do you mean, stop? You haven't even heard the rest of the plan. I'm sick of this. I don't want to be part of your stupid plan. There's no need to be rude to your mother. If you have a better plan, share it. OMG, you are not hearing me. I'm tired of this stupid feud, and I don't care about getting revenge on anyone. And I wish you would act like a mother for once. I ran outside and bumped right into Alan. What are you doing here? Brittany, look, I don't have much time. My mom's out, and I wanted to say, I don't care about what you have to say. We decided to tell your mom about us, and you chickened out and lied about everything. Wait, please. I know, I was a jerk and a coward, and I shouldn't have acted like that. I just froze up. Congratulations on your self-awareness. Now get out of my way. You don't understand. My mom's terrifying. She gets that crazy look in her eyes. I can't make her mad. She's really hard on me. But I know that's not a good excuse, and I really am sorry. I love you so much. I want to shout it from the rooftops. I hate hiding things and living like this. What if we didn't have to hide it? Our moms will never see eye to eye. We need to find a way. If you really care enough. Of course I do. Both our moms were on alert because of what had happened, so we had to be extra careful sneaking around and meeting up, which led to some pretty close calls. One night, I even had to climb a tree and leap over Alan's backyard fence when his mom got home from work early. And then a day came when we were hanging out at the park, and suddenly my mom popped out of a bush. Aha! I knew something was going on. How could you, Brittany? Mom, Alan. Suddenly, Alan's mom appeared from behind another bush. Why would you associate yourself with that awful girl? Because we love each other. Your evil daughter has brainwashed my son. More like, your demon son has brainwashed my daughter. Our moms fell into an all-out fight, pulling hair and screaming and trying to gouge each other's eyes out. It was insane. But Alan and I looked at each other and just ran away from there. We were done. And for the next 3 days, we hid at my friend's house and made her swear not to tell our mothers. After a while, our moms reported us missing, and flyers of our faces were posted all over the city. You know we can't do this forever, Brittany. I know, but I'm not sure I'm ready to go back yet. I'm not either, but we have to eventually. The next morning when we went home, both our moms came running out, pulling us into hugs and sobbing. Brittany, where have you been? I was very sick. Alan, how could you do this to your poor mother? Alan took my hand as we faced them together. Alan and I are together. That's not going to change just because you can't get along with his mom. We've always been so close, Julia, but you're ruining our relationship and making me miserable. I need you to stop being so selfish. Don't make us choose between you two and our relationship. You both need to respect our decision. You don't have to like each other, but you need to respect and tolerate each other if you want us in your lives. You got it? Our moms looked at us and then at each other, and for the first time that I could remember, they didn't start fighting. Instead, they shook hands. All right, this doesn't mean we're friends though, but can we call a truce? Gross. Why would I think we're friends? But yeah, truce.